3 years, every single day, I had a productivity app open. I tracked my meditation, I logged my reading time, I hit my workout streaks. On paper, I looked like someone who had their life together. And yet, I kept falling short of the things that I actually cared about, the bigger goals, the ones that required more than just the habits themselves. I want to talk about that gap today because I think a lot of you are living inside it right now. You are doing the right things, you are consistent, and something still isn't moving. Here is what I did not understand for a long time. A habit on its own is just a behavior. It's something you do. What I was building, all that consistency, all those streaks was activity, not momentum. And those are not the same thing. I realized this when my content output looked consistent on paper, but my bigger creative goals were being still stalled. I was writing blogs, I was posting videos, I was reading constantly, experimenting with AI tools. I even had streaks for learning and creation. But the fiction book stayed unfinished. The poetry collection stayed fragmented. The deeper work, the work I actually cared about, kept getting delayed because none of the habits were connected to each other. I had built activity, not momentum. The turning point came when I stopped measuring what I had done the habit, and started asking whether the habits were feeding the same direction. Once writing, reflection, learning, and content creation became parts of the same loop instead of isolated checkboxes, progress stopped feeling random. I had a meditation streak, I had a reading streak, I had a writing streak, but the fiction book still unfinished. The deeper creative work I actually cared about still stalled. I was maintaining the habits perfectly, and the machine was pointed in the wrong direction. That's when it hit me. I was not building a system, I was collecting behaviors. Most habit advices focus on one thing only: how to build a single habit. Stack it on top of an existing behavior, make it small, make it frictionless. There is real wisdom there, I'm not diminishing it, but here is what gets skipped. A single habit, no matter how well constructed, can only do so much. You can meditate every morning and still feel scattered. You can read every evening and still lack clarity on what you want. You can exercise consistently and still procrastinate on your real work. The individual habits are solid. The architecture that connects them is not. The gap is not willpower. I want to say that clearly because so many people are blaming themselves for not having enough discipline when the design itself is broken. The gap is architecture. What separates a routine from an engine is feedback. When habits exist in isolation, you feel their effects individually. You meditated, you feel calmer for an hour, you finished a task, you check it off, real effects but discrete. An engine works because the output of one behavior feeds directly into another. The clarity from meditation sharpens the thinking for your most important work. The work output becomes evidence that the morning routine matters. The evidence reinforces why you protect the system. That loop is compounding, not in the abstract way people usually mean it, not small improvements add up, more literal than that. The pieces talk to each other. I noticed this most clearly with my writing. On days when I exercised, stayed off algorithmic noise in the morning, and spent even 10 minutes journaling before work, my writing sessions changed completely. I did not need to force creativity anymore. The words came cleaner, the thinking was sharper, even my technical tutorials became easier to explain because my mind wasn't fragmented. That's when I understood the habits were not helping independently, they were amplifying each other. Once I understood this, I stopped asking, did I do my habits? And started asking, how do these pieces connect? That question led me to a structure I still use. I separated habits into three categories: foundation, work, and reflection. So, foundation first, habits that create the baseline like sleep, movement, food. Work habits, the second one, move the actual goal forward like focused creation, iteration, and output. And third one, the reflection habits, they make visible what is working and what is not. The connecting piece isn't a tracker, though tracking helps. It's something I started calling intentional linking. At the start of each week, I write out how I expect the foundation to support the work. Not I'll meditate, but something more specific. My 20-minute morning routine clears the noise so I can write for 2 hours without fighting myself, and I'll know it worked when the session feels clean instead of forced. Then I built feedback loops. Every Sunday evening, one question: which habit enabled my best work this week? Not about perfection, about visibility. Over time, you see patterns. Some habits matter more to your specific goals than others. Your engine isn't universal, it's tuned to you. And the third piece, ruthless deletion. Does this habit directly support a goal or support another habit that does? If neither, it goes. The engine runs faster when it's not dragging weight that does not belong. Here's the part people don't want to hear. Most people think you built a system and then discipline keeps it running. The opposite is true. A well built engine requires less discipline, not more, because the architecture does the work. When a habit is properly linked to something you care about, you can actually see that it matters. You don't need willpower to do it, you do it because it makes sense. The hard part is the setup. Building an engine requires thinking. It requires sitting with real discomfort to figure out which pieces matter to you, not what someone else's optimized schedule says should matter. Most people skip this. They jump straight to execution, then wonder why they can't sustain it. For a while, I tried copying systems from hyper optimized productivity creators online. Rigid schedules, over engineered trackers, impossible daily targets. On paper, it looked efficient. In practice, it quietly killed my ability to think deeply or create consistently. I remember realizing this after a week where I completed almost every planned task but felt completely disconnected from my actual goals. I was maintaining the machine perfectly, but the machine was pointed in the wrong direction. Rebuilding meant accepting that my system needed to support both sides of me: the analytical side that loves structure and the creative side that needs room to wander. Once I stopped treating those as enemies, the engine finally started working. Engines also break, they need maintenance. A system that runs 6 months without review becomes ritual. You're doing the habits but forgot why. The reflection loop isn't punishment, it's the maintenance schedule. Without it, the engine ceases. I used to think an engine was something I had built once and then coast on, set it up, let it run. That's not what it is. An engine runs because you keep maintaining it, keep adjusting, keep paying attention to how the pieces talk to each other. It's not autopilot, it's the opposite. It's active stewardship of something you designed. But here's the thing about stewardship of something that you actually works for you. It doesn't feel like force, it feels like play. Like you are tinkering with the one machine that moves your days in the direction you actually want. The engine isn't motivation, it's not inspiration. It's a structure you built because you thought harder about what moves you forward. Once it's there, momentum does the rest. If this landed, Breath of Life is where I keep thinking out loud. Subscribe so you don't miss what's next. And if you know someone stuck in the habit loop who can't figure out why nothing is moving, share this one with them. It might be the thing they needed.